meeting, but you have to see me sleeping for a while, I guess.
I talked to some guy, a remote worker for Tesla today, and he was talking about how impressed he was with his internet service here locally compared to Seattle, because so many big companies take up so much of their bandwidth that he can get more here cheaper. And I was like, well, you don't hear that often. I was happy.
Well, we've hit the 4 o'clock mark, and welcome to the April 15th, 2021 meeting of the Humboldt County Association of Governments Board. In accordance with Executive Order N 29-20, the Humboldt County Association of Governments meetings will be held virtually until further notice. Across the screen for our viewers at home, and there will be a banner that shows you how to make public comment and join the meeting for public participation. So welcome. And with that, we'll call this meeting to order. And can we get a roll call, Christy?
Supervisor Bass?
Here.
Mayor Jones? Mayor Seaman?
Here.
Mayor Hindley? Councilmember Atkins Salazar?
Here.
Councilmember Gordon Johnson?
Here.
Councilmember West? Chair Johnson?
Here.
Councilmember Arroyo? Mr. Robertson?
Here.
Thank you.
Mayor Jones is now here as well.
Thank you.
Live and in person.
I had to reconnect for some reason.
Thank you. Our first order of business is to adjourn as the HCOG board and reconvene as the Policy Advisory Committee. This allows, well, the second item of business is for public participation, and this is an item reserved for matters not on the agenda today. Is there any public participation?
Chair Johnson, we did receive a forwarded email from Latanya Jacob with 14 questions regarding transit service in the city of Fortuna. Answers to those questions were provided by Cameron Mull of the city of Fortuna. The email will be included and filed into the meeting record. And there are no other public comments on this item.
All right, well, thank you. The next item is approval of the meeting record. Has everybody had an opportunity to read and go over that?
I have a question. I read and I thought I wasn't here, but apparently I seconded a motion. Either that or I'm not listed as here, so. I think Supervisor Madrone actually.
Yes.
That's
I
right,
remember.
he was here last time.
I mean, I would take credit for being here, but I just thought I should let everyone know.
Yeah, that's true. She probably did not second the motion for the minutes.
I
since
would
she
have,
wasn't
but,
here.
but I didn't.
Yeah. You have in the past. So that needs to be a correction there, but I don't know. You'll have to check your minutes to see who seconded the motion.
I will do that. Thank you.
Well, can
I
we
will
go ahead?
I will approve the minutes with that correction when it can be made on the seconding of the previous meeting record minutes.
I'll second this one.
Seconded by Councilmember Gordon Johnson.
I heard Supervisor Bass and Councilmember Johnson, but I think Supervisor Bass may have just come in under.
Gordon have it, doesn't matter.
Yeah, please don't get behind me. I'm in a meeting.
Okay, can we
I
get a?
apologize.
Okay.
Okay.
Supervisor Bass?
Yes.
Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Mayor Seaman?
Yes.
Councilmember Atkins Salazar?
Aye.
Councilmember Gordon Johnson?
Yes.
Chair Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Arroyo? Mr. Robertson?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
And thank you. And we come to the consent calendar, which has 3 items: the fiscal year 2021 FTA program projects, the Coronavirus Relief and Response Supplemental Appropriation Act, and the fiscal year 2021 FTA Section 5311 program applications. Is there anyone want to pull anything? No.
Mayor Jones would approve the consent calendar as delivered.
Susan Seaman will second that.
And we have a motion and a second.
Okay, Supervisor Bass,
Yes.
Mayor Jones,
Yes.
Mayor Seaman,
Yes.
Councilmember Atkins Salazar,
Aye.
Councilmember Gordon Johnson,
Yes.
Chair Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Arroyo.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Robertson.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, and we're at the PAC action items, and to recommend the board adopt the Humboldt County Coordinated Public Transit Human Services Transportation Plan. And do we have a staff report for that?
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. I'm Stevie Luther, Associate Regional Planner. This item is an update to Humboldt County's Coordinated Public Transit Human Services Transportation Plan, which was last amended in 2016. The Coordinated Plan is a planning document that identifies mobility needs for the transportation disadvantaged groups of persons with disabilities, older adults, and people with low incomes. The plan also includes priority strategies to ensure services are effectively delivered and coordinated. Projects selected for funding under Federal Transit Administration Section 5310 must be included in a coordinated plan. At their April 7th meeting, the SSTAC reviewed the final draft and recommended the board adopt the plan. The PAC is being asked to recommend that the HCOG board adopt the 2021 coordinated plan as presented. I will now turn it over to Thomas Pogue with the Center for Business Policy and Research, whose team conducted public outreach and prepared the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stevie. And again, my sincere apologies about that interruption earlier. I was trying to get things sorted out at home. Anyway, thank you. And it's been a pleasure working with the team there in Humboldt County on this update to the coordinated plan. We've been at it just over a year now, and it's been a difficult year as everything with COVID, but I've been very, very pleased with where we got in a short space of time. Today, just wanted to review what is in the coordinated plan and be available for any questions that you might have, having reviewed it, hopefully. Just again, as was introduced, the coordinated plan is a requirement of 5310 funding, but it's also intended to be an opportunity for the county to reflect on its progress in bringing together and uniting the variety of transportation and transit services that are operating, and identify opportunities to improve that coordination and the efficiency of that system as a whole, including not just the public, but private and nonprofit operators of transportation services across the county. And that is part of what is discussed in the first section of the report, that broader purpose, as well as the legislative requirements of it, as well as a reasonably extensive list of different funding sources that could be applied to social services transportation. And the coordinated plan is focused on a subset of the population, those with disabilities, seniors, and veterans, as well as low-income transit-dependent populations. And so those funding sources are reviewed in that introductory section. In section 2, those target populations are profiled as along with the overall trends in the population, and best forecasts that are available for the components of those target populations as well as the county as a whole. I did notice this last week that Humboldt was on the list of the I think it was rated 18th in the 20th hottest property markets in the country on the realty.com list, which I found interesting as some of these COVID impacts are felt. That demographic demand for these services is then discussed in the context of available services in section 3, where we have an inventory of the providers of transportation and transit services across the county. And with those two, the supply and the demand overviews, in section 4, we shift to look at how well those components are working together, and particularly within the service providers themselves, what are the coordination challenges? Again, being a rural community, Humboldt County has a lot of structural challenges with its geography and infrastructure, and those have to be acknowledged, but there's not a lot that can be done. But wherever there are opportunities, we want to try to identify them. And as part of the coordinated plan, what is intended is to, as I said, take stock of where the county is. And that's what's done in section 5, where the progress on the coordination is assessed, progress with previously identified needs in the county are reviewed, as well as the previously identified priority strategies, those needs that were chosen to be the priorities in the last coordinated plan. In section 6, after that progress on what's been done is reviewed, we cover the new needs that have been identified, drawing heavily on the unmet needs process in the county, but also throughout the update, having stakeholder inputs and conversations with operators throughout the county to make sure that any changes in the needs are identified, because this is the section where any need that is going to seek funding from 5310 over the length of this coordinated plan update, which is typically 5 years, needs to be listed. And so we've described the needs in typically more open terms rather than specific, so that over the 5 years, as needs maybe change a little bit or evolve, it won't have to require an update to the coordinated plan. And after identifying those needs, a group of them were selected for priority strategies to be focused upon, and those are what form section 7. And some descriptions of the details of how those needs, the strategies to address those needs will be met, are described in there. And finally, in section 8, given that the coordinated plan isn't designed to deal with anything like the COVID pandemic, but we were updating it in the middle of it, we didn't want to ignore the issues and the real challenges and difficulties that it's creating, but there wasn't an easy place to integrate it through the rest of the report. So we tried to capture as best we could through the input and conversations that we were having COVID-19 specific issues in the section 8, which was the final section of the report. And that's where we are and where we got to today through those processes and through that update. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have or discuss anything about the coordinated plan update that you might have.
Do any of the members have a question or comment regarding the report and his staff report there? Well, in what I read, I think overall, given the circumstances, we're doing a pretty decent job coordinating up and down basically the 101 corridor, which is our main line of transportation.
Yes, definitely.
And even into Ferndale with the bridge van, it's like everybody's working together to accomplish the needs of our community at large, the whole county. So.
So I had a question, Councilmember Johnson. At the very end, there's the questionnaire and then the respondents, and you only got 7 respondents. Is that what I'm seeing in the statistics here?
Selena, is that right? Is that our total number of respondents that we got? Yeah, that was an online survey that we asked anybody that wanted to make further comments or feedback, but that was supplemental to our outreach meetings. We just had it as a resource for anybody that wanted to comment further or make additional discussions or maybe weren't able to attend. We provided the link to the SSTAC and to the COG to share in the community in case anybody wanted to follow up, and we didn't get many people that had input.
Yeah, I'm kind of concerned that you didn't get more participants, and I was wondering, now that you said that it was online, perhaps that was the issue. But you said you did get more respondents that attended meetings and that kind of thing. Is that where you got a lot of your
Yes, and that was the
feedback?
meetings, and then we circulated it electronically for comments as well. And I don't have those numbers in front of me, but we did have quite a few people on those various meetings to review the document.
Okay, thank you. It looks very complete, and it will be useful for our future in terms of our transportation plans.
Any other comments or questions? No?
I don't know if I should want to say this, but I think this is the first time I read a report in this group, and I was like, I think I'm finally putting it all together. That was for you, Stacy. That means it'll come.
Thank you very much.
It will, and it's important. What we do here as a board does affect and benefit the whole community at large. So
it's big and complicated, and just figuring out how they all go together. This report was kind of the one where I started to say, oh, I recognize these issues that have come up time and again and how they fit together. So
yes.
So would you like a motion to adopt resolution number 21-05, the coordinated
Johnson.
public transit?
Yes.
Excuse me,
Okay,
we
I
do
make
have
that
public
motion.
comment.
Okay.
I didn't see any public, but
Well, let's entertain the public comment.
Okay, last 4 numbers are 0749. It's 0749. Go ahead, please.
My name is Latanya Jacob. Can I speak now?
Yes.
I have a couple of questions. I mean, just a few. The first one is, I'm sorry, there's a lag between me speaking and what I hear on TV. So that's what. I have a question that I remember of what the person's name is, where he's from. But as far as HCOG or whomever have the results from the Fortuna Transit Systems Rider Survey, do we have that information? Does anyone have that?
As it will be entered into the meeting record, because there's 14 questions and It will be at the meeting record that will be distributed at the next board meeting in May.
Okay. I have two more questions. Okay. The next question I have is, what evidence or information exists to support the claim that the Fortuna Transit System mission, purpose, or vision reflect the people of Fortuna?
I don't believe that was part of the coordinated plan unless I'm mistaken.
Okay. And then my last question is, what is Fortuna's definition of a transit system?
Again, that wasn't part of this coordinated plan. I think that might be another project or study.
Can you confirm? I think I did ask. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought I was told that what is used for the Fortuna transit system is 2 buses and a van. Is that right?
I could look that up in the report. I think we talk about Fortuna somewhere, but I don't have that right on hand.
It is 2 vans, it's a paratransit system that is 2 vans with, I believe they're each 8 passenger, and they each have a lift, and they are on a call, reserve a ride, and they respond to that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand that. And the reason why you went to that versus the actual transit system, which is very similar to what the Eureka City has, is why. I mean, I can't answer that without knowing what that was on the surveys, which is it wasn't available to me. So
I would recommend that on Monday evening at 6 p.m., the next meeting of the Fortuna City Council, it will take place. And if you go to the friendlyfortuna.com, you can get information on how to participate in that council meeting.
Okay, thank you. I'll do that.
Thank you.
Any other questions I have has been submitted in the minutes. Okay, thank you, sir.
Is there any other public comment, Christy?
No, that concludes public comment for this item.
All right. Any other comments or questions from the board? Otherwise, we will entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion again if no one raises their hands to ask any questions.
Go ahead, make the motion.
All right. Make a motion that the HCOG board adopt resolution 21-05, adopting the Humboldt County Coordinated Public Transit Human Services Transportation Plan 2021.
I'll second
Seconded by
that.
Councilmember Gordon Johnson and Mayor Seaman.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Supervisor Bass,
Yes.
Mayor Jones,
Yes.
Mayor Seaman,
Yes.
Councilmember Atkins Salazar,
Yes.
Councilmember Gordon Johnson,
Yes.
Chair Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Arroyo,
Yes.
Mr. Robertson.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. And at this time, we'll entertain a motion to reconvene as the HCOG board and approve the PAC recommendations.
Mayor Jones makes a motion, we reconvene as the HPAC board and as the HCOG board and approve the PAC recommendations.
I'll second that. Stacy from Arcata City Council.
Thank you. And with motion and a second. Again, a roll call.
Supervisor Bass,
Yes.
Mayor Jones,
Yes.
Mayor Seaman,
Yes.
Councilmember Atkins Salazar,
Yes.
Councilmember Gordon Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember West,
Yes.
Chair Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, thank you. And now we come to the HCOG staff and PAC member reports. First one being our executive director's report.
Thank you. This is a bit of a new item, but I thought I'd take a stab at this and just have a section of the agenda where I can update you on some of the bigger picture things we're working on. Two of the things I wanted to make sure that the board was aware of. One is that the SAFE RFP has been published. This is an RFP that's out for SAFE the call boxes for, first of all, an expansion plan to be developed and a replacement plan for the existing call boxes. And so they do that study in addition to the ongoing call box maintenance. I think almost all the 62 call boxes we have need to be upgraded in some fashion to be ADA accessible. And then other concerns about how close they are to the path of travel. So though that RFP is out, it is due on May 3rd. It has been published and it has also been noticed in the paper as is required in our procurement policies. So hopefully we will be able to bring that back to next month. So we'll have a staff recommendation for executing that contract next month. So there is within that RFP, there is the requirement to do some outreach with the community to the places where we're considering new call boxes, also to consider satellite call boxes for the places that don't have cell phone coverage. So that RFP is out. The other RFP that is out is for the pavement management system update, the 2021 update. This is the inventory where we get an inventory of all the pavement in the whole county. That includes within the cities, on all the roads in the cities, tribal lands, and we figure out what the condition of that pavement is, and then get data that is very useful to all the public works directors in deciding where to put their funding. So that RFP is also circulating, and that is due in May as well. And depending on how many responses we get, it's really close to the board meeting. So if we have very few responses, we might need to bring that back in June. I'm sorry, if we have many, we'll bring it back in June. But if it is very few and we can get a committee together quickly, we'll be able to have that recommendation at the May meeting as well. So last meeting, your board did approve a contract with Plan West and RCA for the RTP update assistance. So we have executed that contract and we are currently working with them on developing our public participation plan. So we are going to have a presentation of sorts, developed interactive presentation that we hope to present to as many groups that will really listen. So every service group, Chamber of Commerce. So if any of you have a recommendation for a group that would want to hear the presentation, it really will cover general information about what HCOG is and what HCOG does, because I think a lot of people still need that introduction, sort of the overview of this agency, and then also specifically the RTP update and what we're looking for in that process. And the RTP update is due at the end of this calendar year. But I just really encourage you, we have a pretty extensive list going. We do want to make it to every Chamber of Commerce. We want to, Rotary clubs, whoever will listen. But if there's groups that you know of, committees you know of, in addition, of course, we'll take it to city councils. But if there's other groups, please let us know and we'll be sure to get that on the schedule. And then the last thing I just wanted to mention, a couple meetings ago, I believe it was Council Member Arroyo was asking some questions about an update we got on the 101 corridor and what happened it was about $3 million that actually came back into our STIP funding because of an overestimation of the mitigation dollars that needed to be spent. So that was coming back to HCOG. And the question was, what happens next? So I've investigated that a little bit. And basically, it has come back into the STIP funds. However, we were already given an advance for those funds, and that was primarily to help with the funding of the Bay Trail. So because it was an important project, we got ahead of ourselves and got money allocated prior to its actual availability. So that the $3 million essentially backfills that. And so right now we're still in the hole about 500,000, but that is quickly changing. because we're about to receive allocations, or at least our programming estimates coming up here in the next couple months. There's also, much like we saw for transit, there's that CRSA, that coronavirus response money. There's money for that that's going to come through the STIP as well. And we don't know the exact amount on that. We're going through discussions with the CTC. So those are active meetings. And within the next couple months, we'll know kind of the standard amount that's coming for this year, in addition to that coronavirus boost that we'll get. And I think for the first year in a long time, we could actually do a solicitation and think about a new project. So just wanted to close the loop on that question. And other than that, that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. It's good to hear that and the information. And it sounds like you've been busy. So
it's definitely a learning curve, I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, well, you're adapting well. And next would be our Caltrans reports on 3 items. Is Mr. Robertson doing the reports?
Yes.
Thank you.
So for the Eureka Arcata 101 corridor project, I have an update from Jeff Pimentel, who is unable to make it tonight. He tells me that the Indianola Undercrossing and Half Signal project officially met the ready to list milestone on March 22nd, 2021, and beginning preparations for contract advertisement. So the project will be going to the May CTC meeting for construction funding allocation. The final engineer's estimate was within the programmed funds of the project. We expect advertisement to begin May 2021, and the contractor is expected to be on board in early September this year. It's likely the public will not notice ground disturbing activities until spring of 2022 due to many of the administrative items the contractor will need to complete as part of the contract, and also based on the weather. The project team will have a better sense of an actual groundbreaking timeframe as we approach the fall of 2020-21. So that is all I know about that topic. I also have an update from Jamie Mattioli on the Last Chance Grade project. He tells me that the environmental process for the Last Chance Grade project remains on schedule and on budget, and we continue to collect and monitor data on movement of the slide and groundwater in the system. Environmental field studies are in progress, and the team expects to complete these studies by this fall. Studies include botanical, wildlife, wetland mapping, and tree surveys. As far as the alternative screening process goes, we are engaged with our stakeholders to narrow down the list of alternatives so we can save time, money, and reduce the risk of selecting only the most viable and feasible alternatives to fully study. The final working group meeting on alternative screening is scheduled for Thursday of next week. The project team is planning a scoping meeting this summer. The public can review and comment on the list of alternatives moving forward for full studies continuing through this year. So that was Jamie's update. And for either the 101 corridor project from Jeff Pimentel or the Last Chance Grade project from Jamie Mattioli, if there's any questions, I can track those down, and Caltrans can present those at the next board meeting if desirable. Otherwise, I can also report on the Complete Streets update. Are there any questions before I go to
that? Chair Johnson, this is Councilmember Gordon Johnson, and for the last 6 years or so, I've been HCOG's representative on Congressman Huffman's stakeholder group. It is one of the 4 groups that have been meeting regularly. The other groups are the cultural, second is landholders, third is the regulatory group. And as Jesse said, all of those groups, 99 invitees, are supposed to be Zooming about a week from now. And in essence, we are going to be looking at a couple of alternatives that remain. And one of them is basically use of the existing right-of-way, and the other is a tunnel. And we've tentatively scratched a whole bunch of other options. So that's where we're looking and where we're headed. And it's been a long session to get to this point. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We might look, keep you on the list of reports as we go along. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Robertson. And anybody else have a question or a comment regarding the last chance grade or the 101 corridor?
I guess, do we just know how the contractors are doing that got hurt? I mean, that's more the personal thing, but that was since the last meeting. Are they recovering okay? And
I don't know that they are expected to make a full recovery, but I think that they're all in good spirits and are doing as well as can be expected. So I think I know the Caltrans inspector and employee out there. I know a little bit more about her condition and a little bit less about the contractors that were injured. So, but I do know that people had good things to say about Karen's recovery, and everybody here was wishing her well. So,
and I mentioned it both because I wanted to know how they were doing, and also to remind everybody that this is it's a very dangerous situation that they're working on all the time. So thank you.
Thank you for your concerns.
Anything else before we move on to the Broadway Complete Streets project? If not, Mr. Robertson, you have anything to say?
Okay, well, I was asking Beth today for a little clarification on exactly what would be desired when it comes to the Caltrans report on complete streets. I noticed that the minutes referred to the complete streets element, and I was wondering if that was related to either the RTP update or if if there's something specific. Caltrans has been rolling out a complete streets forum, which I think Beth has also participated in. I think there's been 2 out of maybe 4 forums that have been conducted. And I think that's really a pretty detailed look at what Caltrans is doing to try to roll out complete streets. And I think that there is, a lot of work that still needs to be done in terms of identifying how we measure and how we fund complete streets needs. So I think some of that stuff is still ongoing, but perhaps we can provide a summary or something of that forum at the conclusion of it, or I could work with Beth to make sure that you guys get some information of interest on that topic. My assumption was that the complete streets update would be on the Eureka Broadway project. I had a conversation today with Alexis Kelso in our advanced planning office, and she gave me an update. In April, I think April 2nd, we had a project nomination that we submitted for the middle segment of the segment studied under the strategic partnership grant that Caltrans, HCOG, and the city of Eureka worked on together. And the project nomination would fund the project initiation document. It would prepare a project study report, which provides the scope, schedule, and cost of any improvements. For that segment, I think that was using the preferred alternative from the grant project. as the assumption, and I believe there will be some outreach if that's funded. I believe that the end of April, we hope to get some feedback as to whether or not that we're going to have resources in the next fiscal year to initiate the project study report for that project, and that would be funded through the SHOP program. There's a continuing work on the southern segment. That one, there's a kickoff meeting scheduled for the southern segment on April 30th at 3 p.m. I think. I don't know if Beth was invited to that, but I think it includes a lot of the people that were involved with a complete streets discussion for the Broadway corridor. We're currently working on the PID project. So, that PSR is scheduled to be heard at the California Transportation Commission meeting in August and could be adopted into the SHOP at that point. So I think both of those projects are underway. I think we're moving very quickly on both of these two projects. We're not. I think that there's a big emphasis on implementing complete streets, and this project I think has a good opportunity to be awarded funds. I think the timing on it is almost impeccable here, and I think that the consultants did a very good job of understanding the criteria that would be used to award and construct the project. So both of those are moving along better than what I would traditionally expect a grant project that was just recently completed this year to be doing at this point. So we can try to kind of fine tune the information that we present on complete streets, whether we're interested in the city of Eureka, whether it's Caltrans processes in general, or if there's work that you'd like to see incorporated in the regional transportation plan, so or something else. So anyway, that I think is about as much information as I could glean this morning, and I'd be happy to also look into any questions you all have and also try to provide a response to those.
Okay, well, thank you. And I'm confident in saying that probably when we think of complete streets, it's from my point of view, and I think the other folks, it's a safety oriented thing, and it's very in the forefront, I'll say. I don't know if anybody has any other questions or comments regarding this.
Chair Johnson, if I could just add, as Jesse mentioned, I am sitting in on the kickoff meeting, and I just want to express my appreciation that I think Caltrans is doing a good job really keeping us in the loop on this. We had the opportunity for that project study report for the middle section that Jesse was mentioning. They contacted us about that. We had the opportunity, as well as the city of Eureka, to submit a support letter consistent with what the board adopted with the plan a couple months ago. And then, we're included on sort of the agenda setting group of folks as we go out and continue to interact with the stakeholders. So I'm just appreciative of that and looking forward to continue coordination on that particular project, because it does seem like it's really perfect timing, and a lot of things are aligning to prioritize projects just like this. So having that complete street, that multimodal component that was so prominent in the study, is really positioning us well to take advantage of everything that's coming out in terms of climate action planning and VMT reduction, vehicle miles traveled reduction. So it's exciting, and like Jesse said, things seem to be moving a lot faster. So that's very encouraging, and I'm grateful to stay in close contact on that.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
And that concludes my presentations. So,
well, thank you for that. And it is very nice to see the coordination going back and forth and taking everything into consideration and working together. And it's, again, it's for the benefit of everyone. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And if there's any other comments, questions, items for this before we adjourn. Don't see anything. So thank you for your work here, and for we'll come together again next month. So thank you very much for all your participation. And we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you all.